Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me? All right. Okay. May I have your attention, please? Good afternoon, everybody. All right. I want to say, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out to this meeting so that we can have get an update on where things are with the GoRaleigh Access Program. And so what we're going to do here, well, first of all, let me say this. I want to acknowledge that we have made significant progress with the program from where we started a year ago to where we are today. However, I say that to say that we are moving in the right direction. Like I said, we've made great strides in making sure that our program is providing the service to the community in a great way in terms of service delivery and customer service satisfaction. And where the challenges are, we are continuing to work with city staff and to iron these things out. So tonight, what we're going to do, the way we're going to have this meeting here is, the goal is, first of all, we're going to have the city staff to give us an update on a variety of things such as the TAP program, the letters that will go out to consumers about their writer or vendor choice. We're going to have staff from RapDev to come and give us some information. And there will be questions that have been submitted in advance that will be addressed by both Mr. Abrams and RapDev staff where appropriate. And let me say, I didn't say this at the beginning, but it bears stating, both David Walker and David Eatman had intended to be here today, but they are under the weather, as the old saying goes in the country. They are sick, so they don't want to be here, spreading those germs. That's what they told me today. But we're sure that Mr. Abrams will be able to address any questions that may have been directed toward them. And once these presentations are done and the pre-submitted questions have been addressed, then there will be hopefully some time for some question and answer period. Now, what I want you to do when we do get to that phase of the program tonight, raise your hand so that a microphone can be brought to you. So we want to have this to flow as smoothly and orderly as we possibly can because, we have only 2 hours and we know that time can fly when you're having great discussions with good answers. So, with no further ado, Mr. Abrams.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Abrams. I'm the manager for the Raleigh Go Access program. And today I'm just going to be presenting to you just some basic information on the Access program. So let's get started here. So some of the topics we'll be discussing tonight is, what is GoRaleigh Access? We'll talk about our office move. We'll talk about the fares and the reimbursement. What is the Access Fare? The TAP program that was just mentioned. And we'll also get an update from RapDev, and also that'll be followed up with question and answer period. Before I get started, I'm just going to have someone from RapDev come up just to give a quick update. Hi. So could someone from the RapDev team come up and just give a quick update?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tressica Amity, the AGM over at Access. Most of you know me or talk to me often. So here tonight, we do have our team. We actually have our Assistant Deputy General Director, Mr. Brian, here from over at Pool Road. He's back in the back. We actually have Mr. Kenneth Johnson and Ms. Dana Bullock, our new operation managers who was here to assist in our program operations. We have Ms. Denise Brown, which is our verification or data analyst, and we have Ms. Rhonda Lewis as well in the house, and she is part of the verification data analyst. And we're here to assist any way we can tonight, as well as give an update on where we are with everything, meeting your needs, and continue to work with you all.
Thank you, Tressica. All right, so yes, the RapDev team is here. We imagine that some folks might have individual concerns that you might want to get answered. So the RapDev team is here to help out with that. They'll be glad to take you out in the hallway and answer any of those individual concerns that you may have. But I'm going to speak now to more generalized things that go on with the program. So what is GoRaleigh Access? So we see up here where it says the door-to-door service. In regards to door-to-door service, we're door-to-door in the sense that we pick you up, we park in front of your home where you're leaving from, and take you to the door of the location that you're going to. Now, with our service, it could get confused when we talk about door-to-door service and curb-to-curb service. The city of Raleigh actually is a curb-to-curb service, right? Which means we take you to the curb of the location that you're going to. We can provide you with that door-to-door service where we walk you up to the door at your request. So we have many people who have requested that they get walked directly to the door, but just overall, our service is actually a curb-to-curb service. The Access is a complimentary service for the fixed route, right? Which means it mirrors the fixed route in a lot of different ways, as far as the schedule, as far as the service area that it provides service to. So this is a complimentary service. So anywhere in the United States, if they have a fixed route, they will have to have an ADA paratransit service. And I know some of you have traveled to other states, and just a little info here. If you need to travel to another state and you want to use the ADA service, all you have to do is contact us, let us know. We can send that information over to the agency where you're going to visit, and you will be able to ride their ADA service as well. Now, they won't have things like the TAP program, which we'll get into, but you will follow whatever the rules are for their particular service and whatever their fares are. So I just spoke about this, the service area. How many people we have here that live outside of the service area? You've been told you live outside of the service area. Anybody here? Everybody's in the service area, okay. Well, the service area follows a 3/4 of a mile rule. So that's 3/4 of a mile from the nearest bus route. So as you can see here, inside that green bubble, you'll see all the red there. That's all of our bus routes. So the service area for the paratransit has to extend 3/4 of a mile beyond that, and that's where you get our pretty little bubble there. You see another bubble up top to the right there. That is the Wake Forest loop bubble, as we operate the loop up in Wake Forest, so we provide the ADA paratransit for that loop out there. Our system is very unique and very different. If you've traveled anywhere else, you will see that very, very quickly. When we started paratransit, we started off using taxi cabs. That is the opposite of how most folks start off their paratransit service. Usually they start off self-performing in their own vehicles. But the city of Raleigh was ahead of the curve because now cities all across the country use cabs also in their ADA service as well as other things. So our taxis, they right now perform more than 90% of our trips. RapDev, who operates our smaller buses there, they're obviously performing less than 10% of the trips as it stands right now. So recently, we moved, and maybe this is why I didn't get sick like David Walker and David Eatman, because I've been at our new location at 310 West Martin Street. This is a big upgrade for us. We expect that this is going to have some positive changes for us. I don't know if any of you have ever been down to our previous office, but it's very, very small, and we could not all even fit in there at the same time, which is why I wasn't there as much as I would have liked to have been, because there just wasn't any space for me there. But in this new office, we have plenty of space. We have more than enough space. We have room for expansion. And obviously, we have room for all of our employees to be there every single day in the office together. I mean, we had employees working in different offices. I mean, it was a challenge to do that. But now we've got an office of our own. It allows us to communicate a lot better, to have a lot better understanding of what's going on a day-to-day. When that emergency call comes in and there's an issue, I'm there. My lead is there, and we all can have group conversations about what needs to happen and what we need to do. And when we're sharing information, everybody is getting that information all at the same time and in the same way and hearing the same questions. So this was a big deal for us, and this was something that really has helped to change where we're going as a system. So let's talk about fares a little bit. We always got to talk about the money. Money always comes up, right? So fares, $250 per ride, right? $250 per ride. Now, if you are able to sign up and receive the TAP program, those same rides will be free. So the TAP program is a great program. If you have not signed up for it yet, please go sign up for it. We have our call center staff is standing by from 10 to 2 every single day, ready to help and support anyone who needs help signing up for the TAP program. And it's very quick. You just call up. It's just basically 3 things that we're talking about here, right? We're talking about if you make $35,000 or less a year. We're talking about if you have Medicaid. And we're talking about if you are on the SNAP program. So if it's a yes to any one of those 3, you are eligible for the TAP program, and your rides will be free. Well, free to you. I would put it like that. They'll be free to you. All right, so here's just, if you guys want to take some pictures of this, if you would like. This is just this is our contact information. You see the GoRaleigh access email. You see the phone number, and that phone number, the 3459 number, you can get the dispatch, and you can get the call center. You just have to hit the correct number when you get into the queue. Again, I'm Sean Abrams, the program manager. There's my number right there, 919-996-4114. So feel free to use that if you need it. Before we get into the questions, I just have some stuff I want to kind of talk about with you. I wanted to talk about how a trip works, right? How it starts and then how it ends. I just want to run through that whole thing with you, okay? So, first of all, you have to be eligible for the Access program. You're going to have to go down to our eligibility determination on Pool Road and go through an interview. They'll ask some questions. They'll do some tests, and then they will make a decision of whether you're eligible for the program or what level of eligibility that you may have. You could have a temporary eligibility. You just may have, maybe you broke your leg and you just need transportation for a short period. You would get that temporary service. So once you go down there and go through that whole process, you are now ready to start booking trips. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna give us a call at that number we just talked about, that 3459 number. You are gonna be greeted by a call center rep. Now let me give you some of what your expectations should be. That call center rep should be giving you their name and who they are. Once they go through that process, you're now ready to request your trip. You are going to give them the address of, I would say give them the address of where you're being picked up and where you're going. Yes, we do already know your home address, but sometimes people may move. Sometimes you may be in a different location, so you want to get in the habit of making sure you confirm that the addresses are the right one. And make sure you have the address of where you're going to. We get calls lots of times with folks who may not have the address to where they're going to. And does the call center staff help out with that? Sure, they do. They do that to the best of their ability. Is that something that creates efficiency for us? No, it's not, because now that call is going to take longer. So we ask that when you call, that you have all your information as far as your address of where you're being picked up from, where you're going, the times that you would like to be picked up or dropped off. Speaking of that, pick up, drop off. Two very important words when requesting your trip. If you have an appointment, you want to request your trip based on the appointment time. So if you have an appointment at 10 o'clock, you don't say, I want my trip at 10. They're gonna set it up for you to be picked up at 10. You want to be very clear about that. I have an appointment, or I need my trip based on drop-off. I need to be where I'm going by this time. These are the kind of things you want to communicate to them, because they'll schedule the trip by what time you want to be there. So if you want to be there at 10, they'll schedule it so that the vehicle is supposed to arrive at 10. Now, if you request a pickup for an appointment trip, which you have an appointment at 10, right? But you say, no, I want to be picked up at 9:30, because you know you only live 10 minutes from the location you're going to. Now, if you request it that way, this is how the system looks at it. The system says, oh, okay, I have to pick them up at 9:30. They have a pickup window. I can arrive 15 minutes before 9:30 and up to 15 minutes after 9:30 to perform this trip. So that means they could arrive at 9:45 to pick you up. But you got to be there at 10, and if there's traffic and all that sort of thing, obviously there's going to be an issue there. But the main thing is the system thinks I can keep this person on the vehicle for up to an hour. Now remember, you got a 10 o'clock appointment, but you set it up for your trip to be based on a pickup time because you might feel that you're so close to the location. But that may not work out well for you because, again, the system says, I have an hour to drop this person off. But if you set it up by drop-off, the system is focused on what time you need to be there. Now, in that case, the system is going to create the pickup time for you. And it has to. It has to, because it's looking at all of the other trips and everything else, whatever your taxi provider has to do, whether they got a break, it's looking at all those things. So it's taking that into account to make sure they can get everybody picked up on time. So it's important that you make sure that you understand what type of trip you need. If you have an appointment, you want to base your trip on the drop-off time, what time you need to be dropped off. Typically, people would base their trip on a pickup when they're headed home, right? Because what's important then is, what time am I getting out of here? That's what becomes important. You're not so much worried about what time you're getting home. Now, of course, you are worried about what time you're getting home, but that is not the critical thing at that time. What is critical is, hey, I'm leaving this doctor's office. They're going to be shutting everything down at 5:30. Nobody is going to be here. I need to be picked up. So that's the case where you want to schedule your trip by a pickup. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. If not, we're here to answer your questions. You got my number. We got Rap Dev folks that can go out in the hallway with you and make these explanations to you if you need to get more understanding of that. So once we have the time and everything figured out, that trip is entered into the system, and the taxi company sees it immediately. So if you've called and you've selected a taxi company, many folks already have a taxi company that they've already pre-selected. And I would also say, make sure you mention who the taxi company is that you want, because you may have had a taxi company in there since the beginning, and then there's been several changes where you've moved to different taxi companies, and we haven't had the conversation of, hey, I want you to change my taxi company. So make sure you mention that as well, what taxi company that you want to ride with. But going back to the trip now goes directly to the taxi company. So the moment you get off that phone with the call taker, your trip is already with the taxi company. So I know there were some questions about taxi companies getting the trips at the last minute and that sort of thing. But they get it as soon as you put the trip in. At that point, the taxi company now has to make some decisions. I mean, the trip is actually going to a vehicle, not just to the taxi company. It's actually sitting to a vehicle. But there are occasions when it just goes to the taxi company and it's not sitting on a vehicle. And this should be told to you by the call center rep. They should explain to you, hey, I have you with your company, but there are no seats available right now. Do you want to stay with your taxi company, or do you want us to put you in a seat that is available? Many people decide that they're going to stay with that taxi company. But obviously you can see the risk in that because they're already not seated. So when it comes time to finally do their trip, it may stay that way. The only way that can get fixed at that time is if the taxi company, when they receive the trip and they go through all the trips, they can start moving those trips around to different vehicles within their system. They can also reject those trips if they feel they cannot do it for whatever reason. So a lot of times when your trips get moved or you hear of people's trips getting moved, it's because of this reason, because they may have gotten rejected. Now, mistakes do happen and wrong companies get assigned at times, but this is, majority of the time, this is the reason why this happens. Your trip either gets rejected or there was no seats available in the first place and your trip just stayed with that company and maybe they didn't reject it or they rejected it at the last minute, which is why you might hear another company say, oh, I got this trip at the last minute. So once the taxi companies go through everything they need to go through as far as placing the trip and putting it in the right place, making sure they're organized, and like I said, they can do this the moment after you call in and put your trip in. Now we're ready to start performing trips. So on the day of, that taxi company goes out and they start performing trips. Now there could be times when a taxi company may start running behind. If they start running behind, the system begins to indicate that to the dispatcher. The dispatcher can take a look and say, hey, well, let me move this trip here. I see an open spot here. And they're going to do that based on the closest vehicle. It's not going to have anything to do with whether it's this company or that company. You may have a secondary company that you want to ride with, and they'll take a look at that. But obviously, it may not be feasible for you to even ride with that company because that vehicle might be all the way across town. So these are the kind of things that you got to kind of just think of as you're going throughout your trips day to day, as you're planning your trips day to day. Obviously, with the freedom of choice, which is a great thing, meaning you can choose your taxi company. That's a great thing. That comes with some drawbacks. Everything comes with drawbacks, right? And the drawback in that is that if you got a taxi company that has 3 vehicles, but 50 people want to ride with them that day, obviously it's not going to happen. Somebody's going to have to go somewhere else. So these are the reasons why trips get moved. So now they're out and they're performing their trips. They run late. The system sees that, and the system says, "Hey, you know what? I got to get this trip out of here. I got to get this trip somewhere where it can be on time." You may be one of the trips that was never seated, or you got rejected by your taxi company, and now the system is trying to find a vehicle for you. And the system is going to do, like I said, it's going to try to find the closest vehicle to you, and then we'll send that vehicle to you. So now we're at the trip where the trips are being performed, and the driver completes all their trips for the day. It's a done deal, and we're on to this process again. So I just wanted to share that with you, just to give you a little bit of what the trip is like and how it works in order. There's a lot of nuances to that, so I think that's something that really needs to be discussed over and over again. So please don't be afraid to give us a call to have conversations about how should I put my trip in? What should I be saying? And okay, well, your staff did this. Okay, well, I can make that correction. I can work with them on that. But it's important that we get the trip in right the first time for the trip to have a chance of working out. So that's a very important part. So just wanted to bring that to you. Now, Andrew, we're going to do some questions.
Yes, I will read the questions, and then, Sean, you can have a chance to answer. First question, what are you doing to rectify long wait times on the phone? Sometimes I choose to email my trips, and they are incorrect.
Well, there's a lot of things in place. Well, the first thing we did that we've already done is we made that move to the new location, right? That gives us a lot more organization, and that has me there in everybody's face, being able to watch and see what's going on, and it just brings the teamwork together even more. Right now, I am down 1 staff member, but it's a part-time position, so we plan on getting that position filled very, very quickly, and we're going to change that position. That position was previously just 2 days a week. We're going to change that to where it's at least 3 to 4 days a week. I'm leaning to the 4 days a week just so that we have more coverage throughout those periods of the day where we know we get a lot of calls, particularly at the end of the day. Everybody seems to want to call at the end of the day, so we definitely want to make sure we have more coverage during that period.
Sean, you touched on the new location for the new Access office. Someone asked, where is the GoRaleigh office located? For the new Access office.
Oh, 310 West Martin Street. That's where the new office is located. Yes, Suite 212. Come down and visit us. If you have, and I'm just realizing I forgot to mention something earlier as far as the fares and the reimbursements. This is where you can come to get that reimbursement taken care of. So if you have tickets left over, please bring those down to us at 310 West Martin Street, and we will work on getting you refunded or getting that placed onto your account. So yeah, just come see us about that.
Next question, will the new EcoLane app be beta tested by the end users? Will the city provide training to the end users for the app?
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
Next question, Millbrook Tennis Center will be piloting wheelchair tennis in October. Will you provide transportation to the center, and how do we obtain temporary handicap parking signs?
Well, I can't speak to the temporary parking signs, but that is within our service area, so yes, that will be serviced. There's just a matter of eligibility to get trips out there, that's all.
Next question, what date will the letters be mailed notifying riders of their vendor choice? And then second question, can email be shared between the call center and dispatch? What is the process for sharing information?
Say that first part again.
What date will the letters be mailed notifying riders of their vendor choice?
I don't have an exact date on that yet, but I am positive it will be very, very soon. And what was the second one? I'm not ready to use that word yet, gentlemen. That's something we talked about earlier.
Second question, can email be shared between the call center and dispatch? What is the process for sharing information?
Yeah, that can be done. Currently, we share a Teams so that they're able to have conversation back and forth through Teams.
Next question, concern about 30-minute window for pickup times. Taxis picking people up too late to get to appointments on time.
So we kind of talked about that a little bit, just as far as how you schedule a trip. Since it talked about the window, yes, there is a 30-minute window. There's 15 minutes on either side of the negotiated time. And negotiated time, that's an important thing to talk about too. And this is something that your call center rep should be mentioning to you as well. So when you call and request the time, you say, hey, I need to be picked up at 10 o'clock. Get me picked up. All right, they put it into the system. The system may not have a 10 o'clock on the dot because it is worried about all the other trips that it has to do. This is why we have the window also. So it's going to try to schedule you somewhere within that time. And then it's going to come up with a negotiated time. It may say, okay, well, we can get them at 10:15. Now, you're restricted with that when you're stuck on a particular taxi company, when you've chosen, hey, this is the only company I want to ride with. So that kind of leaves you at the mercy of what they have available. All right?
Next question, why does 65 and up ride free on fixed route but not on access?
Well, at the moment, this was something that was voted on in City Council, and they approved it was the budget. This was not included in that particular vote at that time, so that's why that is not. That is why that is the way that it is.
All right. Another question relating to the scheduled pickup times. Why are trips that are scheduled being picked up 45 minutes late?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Why are trips that are scheduled being picked up 45 minutes late?
Okay. Well, hopefully we can get the person who asked that question, and we can kind of take a look at those particular trips to see exactly what's going on there. I mean, that could be for a number of reasons, and I just can't answer that without being able to see everything in detail.
Why aren't all the van vehicles being utilized? The ones that are being used have issues. Examples of broken air conditioning units.
Well, is somebody from RapDev want to come handle and answer to that?
It's Tressica. So to the van question, actually the vans that are used, we're using all the vans that are in service. The AC units on the city van, it is an older fleet, so we're continually doing the maintenance is work to the AC units to get them running. They're running more than they did during the COVID time, which is also pulling on the engines and the systems a lot now with the air conditioning as much as they are running. There is some new vans set to come, possibly start rolling in the later part of October, November for you all, so that'll help replace a big portion of your fleet. But right now, we're doing everything in our power, sending them out, and the maintenance are working on them every day to try to get them up. And as they go down for AC or whatever have you, we take those off the road, put the other ones on. So actually, right now, we're running, I think it is right at 18 to 20 routes for you all. So that is the entire fleet that goes out on a daily basis. So it's a lot more service being done on the van. So as they go down, we're trying to get them right back up.
Okay, just to add to that, 8 of the vehicles that we have right now are relatively new, meaning that we've gotten them within the last 2 to 3 years. We have 8 more coming in, scheduled to be in November, new vehicles. And I am working on getting an additional, well, not an additional, it'll be 4 more replacement, so that I would say by the mid next year, our complete fleet will be less than 4 years old, which is a pretty new fleet.
And the last question, this is a comment. Please put vehicle ID numbers inside the vehicle where guests can see it.
So one for all of you guys, they actually have done that. One of the passengers brought that up to us about a month ago. We ordered the numbers, and if you get inside now and look up front by the driver, you will actually see whatever vehicle you're on listed inside of the vehicle.
I want to thank everybody for coming out. We are available for all your concerns. We're here to support you. And again, just thank you all for coming out and being involved.